Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming back from lunch. So I'm Peter Hogg from Schneider Electric. My wife asked me what I'm doing today, and I said I'm presenting. In fact, we had this conversation a while ago. I said I'm presenting at an event, and she said, "What are you presenting on?" And I said, "I'm presenting on flexibility." And she said, "Oh, you're not going to do any demonstrations, are you?" She's not in HR. Unfortunately, I'm not going to do any demonstrations. But it's something which we've been doing a lot of work on at Schneider, and we've got a story we'd like to share. But first of all, I'm going to start off by telling you something about Schneider Electric. Hang on a minute. There we go. So at Schneider Electric, our strapline is "Life is on," and our technologies, and some of you may have heard of them, perhaps some of you haven't, ensure that life is on for everyone, everywhere, at every moment. And so what does it mean? Well, life is on when life is energized, when life is efficient, and when life is connected. And at Schneider, we have technologies that basically make sure that reliable, safe, efficient, sustainable power and technology is available for everyone, everywhere, all of the time. And there's some interesting stats up here. Some of you may be familiar with some of them. So we expect energy consumption around the world by 2050 to increase by 50%. We need to make sure that electricity generation doesn't outstrip demand. And there's also still 2.3 billion people in the world who don't have access to safe and reliable electricity. We also know that there's a lot of opportunity to increase efficiency in our buildings. So 82% untapped efficiency in our buildings. We know that we need to find 3 times or 3x more efficiency if we're going to tackle climate change. And we know also that there is more than 50% efficiency still to find in industry. And a lot of our products and services and solutions operate specifically in those spaces. And also around connected, so everyone knows this already. We expect to see 10 times more connected devices by 2020. 30 billion connected things by 2020, and also an environment where software runs everything. So that's a little bit about Schneider Electric. I'm not going to go into more detail than that, but if you want to know more, please find me afterwards or a member of my team. We'd love to tell you a bit more about Schneider. But moving on from that, I want to lift the lid on recruitment at Schneider Electric and some of the challenges we face, and I hope that as I go through the next few slides, some of you will be able to identify with some of the challenges that we faced at Schneider over the last few years. So we are a truly global business. At Schneider, we talk about balanced geographies. And essentially what that means is that we make roughly a quarter of our revenue in North America, roughly a quarter of our revenue in Western Europe, roughly a quarter in Asia Pacific, and a little bit less than a quarter in what we call the rest of the world. We are a business which has grown really quickly through acquisition. So in the last 10 years, we've undergone over 100 acquisitions. And the business has really tried to make sure that our people and our talent is globally dispersed. And so up here, I've put that our ExCo, and I think this is interesting for a large company, our ExCo isn't all focused at our headquarters in Paris. Our ExCo are dispersed around the world. We've got ExCo members in France, but also in the US, Hong Kong, China, Dubai. We are a business with global business units, with global leadership teams, which are globally matrixed, which presents a number of challenges. Perhaps some of you have got those challenges yourselves. And also we promote and we need collaboration across zone and across business units. So this, for us in talent acquisition, whilst it's great commercially, for us in talent acquisition presents challenges because we need to consider the world when it comes to our talent pool. And this is interesting. So this graph speaks specifically to the UK and Ireland, which is the zone that I look after at Schneider Electric. So in 2017, this is 2017 data, we recruited 747 permanent heads in the UK and Ireland at Schneider. I don't know if that sounds like a lot. It's a lot to me. It certainly kept us all busy. But what's really stark and what really stands out is that of that 747 people that we recruited at Schneider, 153 of our hiring managers only recruited once. So what we're talking about here is not not in any way similar to what the guys at Hermes, the challenges that they face. Our challenge is the complete opposite. Of 317 hiring managers, only 24 recruited more than 5 times. So again, we're not seeing the volume in any specific area, discipline, or location. And we only had 9 hiring managers who recruited more than 10 people in 2017. I don't know if anyone else has had a similar situation or anyone else can identify with that sort of environment. It presents a number of challenges for us. Another challenge that we face at Schneider Electric, a lot of one-offs, another challenge that we face at Schneider Electric, and thanks Mark for leading me into this perfectly, is the challenge of the millennials and Generation Z. And this is something that we all face. So, and I'm using Forbes data here, but actually, in hindsight, I probably should have used Reed data. So 64% of millennials said that they want to work somewhere that has the sort of proposition that says that we make the world a better place. Well, that's great for us at Schneider Electric. 72% of millennials want to be their own boss. And if they're not their own boss, they want to work in a sort of collaborative environment, an environment where they can have a boss who acts more as a coach or a mentor. Again, I don't know if any of you guys can identify with this in the sort of recruitment or the talent that you're identifying at the moment, perhaps even in yourselves. 88% prefer a collaborative work culture rather than a competitive one. And I think this speaks again to some of the data that Reed showed us just before lunch. 74% want a flexible schedule. And again, the Reed data was really interesting when it spoke about how many people are actually looking for flexibility. 88% of people are looking for work-life integration, which is not the same as a work-life balance. A work-life integration for our millennials really is, they will work anywhere. They consider everywhere their workplace and want complete flexibility to organize their schedules in the most efficient and effective way, and that works around their lifestyle. And finally, and this is interesting, just in the last intake of graduates, we've seen Generation Z actually come into the workforce, those who were born in 1996. And we now are in a position where we have 5 generations of people working in the workforce, which means a full spectrum of needs that people have at different points in their career, but also the interaction and collaboration of these different generations in any given workforce. And we see this at Schneider Electric. So we've spoken about the sort of one-offs and the unique aspects of the talent that we look for. Couple that with the expectations of millennials and Generation Z in coming into the workforce. Many of you will be driving for diversity in our workforce and in your workforce, and there's been quite a bit said about that already today. We're not unique in that sense in Schneider as well. We're working really hard to address the gender balance in our business. I got told off in my first week at Schneider 4 years ago for describing us as an engineering company by one of our branding people. He said, whoa, whoa, whoa. He said, we are not an engineering company, we're a technology company. That might have been slightly aspirational, but that's certainly the journey that we're on. Well, in any event, be it engineering or technology, we know that the market isn't able to deliver gender balance in terms of the talent available. So what does that mean? It means, like all of you, we need to attract a disproportionate amount of females to our business. Now, females is one aspect of, female hiring is one aspect of diversity, but of course there are many other aspects as well, which I haven't got time to talk about now, but that we're working around, and I'm sure you guys are as well. To identify I wondered what to put on the diversity slide, and I decided to use this LinkedIn post that a colleague of mine posted of her daughter on International Women's Day, and it says, she's grateful to work for Schneider Electric, who allow her to have a fulfilling and exciting career whilst giving me the flexibility to be a mother. As for my daughter, I'm raising her to think nothing is impossible. Happy Women's Day. So that was a post that my colleague Stacey put on LinkedIn on International Women's Day, but that's really what it's all about, isn't it? It creates a lot of work for us in trying to attract a disproportionate amount of female talent to our business. We have an aspiration, we do call it an aspiration, to attract right now 42%. I'm sure many of you will have targets, KPIs, or aspirations. We call it an aspiration because, as Lisa said earlier, we recruit the best talent, but that's not a reason not to have an aspiration to gender balance our business. Again, where we're out there trying to attract a disproportionate amount of females to our business, that creates a challenge, it creates work. So at Schneider, we've had to think carefully about this, and we've learned that flexibility at work is crucial to becoming a more agile and attractive company. It's something we've had, when we've framed these challenges that we're currently facing, we've sat down and thought about it, we've identified that flexibility at work is an opportunity for us. It potentially offers us competitive advantage over some of our competitors. And also we've identified the workplace should allow employees to effectively manage their work, life, and family needs. There are still tons of employers out there who are not really capitalizing on this. So it's interesting then, as an industry, and this isn't Schneider Electric data, in fact this data I'm sharing now comes from a company called Timewise. Many of you will have heard of them. So it's interesting as a business that we still haven't really got the memo on this. Sorry, not as a business. As an industry, we've really not got the memo on this. And so the diagram on the left-hand side is looking at job adverts in the industry, job adverts in the market by industry, and the proportion of those job adverts that advertise flexible working at the point of attraction. And you can see that it's shockingly low. I mean, if you look at the medical and health or the social services, perhaps that's higher, and there might be a propensity towards 0 hours contracts or other aspects of flexibility in those markets. But if you look at the markets that we're in at Schneider Electric, and perhaps that some of you guys are in, around IT or engineering, the proportion is much lower. And again, we look at this at Schneider, and we see this as an opportunity for us to differentiate ourselves and again to attract a disproportionate amount of engaged and diverse talent. And going back to the Timewise data then, and again, perfectly queued up by Reed here, but 84% of male, 91% of female job seekers say they are looking for flexibility in their next career opportunity. That younger workers say that they want to find flexibility in the workplace. And that people are most likely to say their reason for wanting flexibility is work-life balance. Really, work needs to fit in with our lifestyles, and lifestyles have changed. We're all more busy, we're fitting more into our life, information is more readily available, we do everything, not just work on the move. And so these are all aspects that we can take into account at Schneider to differentiate ourselves in what is a very tough market. So, why offer flexibility at work then? Well, perhaps it's obvious, but and this is just really the business case, right? For anyone who's wanting to go to their exco or their leadership teams at work and say, do you know what, guys, we need to think more seriously about flexibility. The world is changing. What are some of the reasons to offer flexibility at work? Making work and life fit together breeds loyalty. I can speak from personal experience that one of the reasons I'm at Schneider after 4 years is because Schneider affords me the flexibility to both live and work and to intertwine both of those aspects of my life. And many of you, again, will be able to identify with that. It broadens the talent pool. So for us, we think globally about talent. If you think of the number of one-offs that we recruit, we can't get too hung up, frankly, on location, or even, a type of person who's prepared to work 9 to 5 in the office. We need to think more broadly about what our talent pool looks like globally. And so if we're able to offer flexibility and we're able to have a culture of flexibility in our organization, that broadens the talent pool, and that's great for us as recruiters, but great for the business. It creates higher morale, lower absenteeism, lower staff turnover, higher engagement, better productivity. And this back again to the millennial piece, staff who are truly flexible don't clock in and clock out. In fact, they work wherever they are, to make most effective and efficient use of their time. They carry their projects with them. And we've seen this at Schneider. And then finally, it's a smart strategy. I think the important message for the boardroom is that flexibility is not an employee benefit, it's a strategic move. And that's something which it's really important for our leadership teams to understand. That's where you really see the cultural shift within your organization. And that's been our experience at Schneider Electric. So what have we done about it then? Well, we've made quite a bold move, okay? In 2017, we implemented we launched what we call our global family leave policy and principles of flexibility. And we do that to strengthen our reputation as an inclusive employer. And so this, for us, it's not a UK initiative. This is a global initiative at Schneider, which really makes a bold statement about what our culture is and how serious we are about diversity and flexibility within our organization. So what does this mean then? Well, our global family leave policy says that, and guys, I want to absolutely emphasize, these are global baseline minimums, okay? Anywhere in our business, anywhere, be that, India or North America or China or the Far East or Australia, UK, Europe, whatever, these are global baseline measures so far as global family leave is concerned. And so we say to all of our people, anyone who would join Schneider Electric, primary parental leave is an absolute minimum of 12 weeks full pay. Now, in the UK, frankly, that is not groundbreaking, but in some parts of the world, it absolutely is. And whether it is or isn't, it makes a statement about how Schneider views flexibility and the ability of our people to strike a work-life balance. A minimum of 2 weeks full pay, secondary parental leave. 1 week care leave, and actually the definition around that is pretty loose. If we need to take a week out to care for someone in our family, for example, who's been unwell or had an accident, whatever, it just takes the ambiguity out of it. Employees at Schneider know that they don't have to worry about it. They can take a week out at full pay, in many cases much longer than that, and in fact the conversation is always fluid and flexible, but as an absolute minimum, the business knows, leaders in the business know, line managers in the business know that we have a culture that says we look after our people and our people need to look after their people. And again, in a similar vein, a minimum of 1 week bereavement leave. So I emphasize again then, for me in the UK, this is more about culture. This is what we're out there saying to the world about who we are. More interesting perhaps because actually in our UK policies and processes, those baseline minimums are almost in every case enhanced. But what's more interesting for us and for me in the UK is our principles of flexibility, because this speaks to everyone. So firstly then, we at Schneider say that we are willing to, or we are happy to talk to our people about flexible working hours, about telecommuting. Now telecommuting to me is a slightly American term, but basically to us means home working or working flexibly, working in a non-fixed location. Activity-based working, so that speaks to the sort of environments that we put our people in, what our offices look and feel like, how people are able to collaborate and interact and move around in our offices. Flexible holidays, so many of you will have that already in your organizations, but it's something which we feel really strongly about at Schneider. We're able to have sensible, grown-up, adult conversations about part-time working, be that for new recruits or people already in the business. Volunteering. So that's something we encourage our people to do, and we enable them to do that for a period of time at full pay, which is brilliant. And also, and this one's really important for me, is around flexible dress code. We don't want to see people filing in and out of our business wearing, white shirts and grey suits and ties. We want people to feel comfortable at work, to be able to dress in such a way that they can really blur the lines between work and life, wherever that be, in the office or outside of the office. And we want a culture that says our people are flexible, they're able to be self-expressive and creative. I guess it's still early days in all of this. The principles of flexibility and the global family leave policy came in the late summer in 2017, but we've already seen some impact of that in our business. And this is really important for me as a recruiter. It's provided a framework within which our employees can expect the company to support their work-life balance. Again, this comes back to the culture of Schneider Electric. It's provided managers, and I put myself in this position when I'm managing my team. It makes my life so much easier if I know that I'm working in a business where there is a framework and toolkit which enables me to have confidence when I'm talking to my staff or my team about flexible working or the flexibility that they need. And this is another really important one. It puts additional focus on our culture of strong and authentic leadership. Something else that came out in the Reed research, right? That was fascinating. I can't wait to get my hands on that day. Our managers must manage. They need to be able to say to their people, this is what we expect. This is where we can offer flexibility. I'm willing to make a decision. I'm willing to take a risk. That, again, is a culture which is encouraged at Schneider Electric. And finally, and this is where it really speaks to us as a talent acquisition team, it gives us the advantage when challenging hiring managers. We've all been there when you take in a vacancy, a requisition, and you speak to your line manager and they say, well, I'm looking for someone who basically looks like the person who's just about to leave, lives in the same area, does the same job, went to the same school. As a talent acquisition team, we have a framework where we can really challenge that mindset within our line managers. And we're able to do that, and we've got the backing of the business, and the business knows to expect it. So it's been a really important cultural shift from us, which really is driven from the very top of our organisation. And so we've seen an upturn in employee engagement. As many of you know, as many of you will also do, we deploy an employee engagement survey. We've been doing it twice a year. You can see we've been doing it for some time. And you can see in 2017, we saw a marked upturn in employee engagement. And we can look at that specifically as to what has caused that upturn in employee engagement. And we can see the key drivers that have caused it. One being around diversity and inclusion. Our people believe that we are walking the talk on D&I. Around well-being, again, our employees, when filling out this survey, are telling us that they believe that Schneider is the sort of place where we care about their well-being. Around effectiveness and also around empowerment. That's where we've seen the key upturns in our employee engagement survey. Many of these can speak directly back to what we've spoken about in our global family leave policy and our principles of flexibility, which are really starting to weave their way through our organisation and our culture. Right, now I'm going to show you a video, and I really hope it's going to work. And this is a video about our family leave policy.
We are a Venezuelan family living in Boston. We're both working parents. We try to enjoy the time that we have at home as much as we can with both of our kids.
I had just moved here in the beginning of the year when I found out that my mom has a serious health problem. I was very grateful because I could go home to spend some time with her before the surgery.
When my son was born, I had been working at Schneider Electric for a week. It's a culture where being able to be with your family in those momentous occasions is really important to them and really valued.
On December 13th of last year, I received a call from my son that he was transgender. There have been several times where I've had to go see my daughter. It makes me feel good inside to know that I have the support of my boss and other people from Schneider. I know what it is and how important it is to take care of your family, whether you have older parents that are aging or whether you have younger children that you need to take care of.
I'm Brazilian. I'm born in São Paulo. Working for Schneider is something very special, and I'm sure that if something happens to my family, I could be there.
Be able to balance home and work is already a very difficult thing. So if you are given that flexibility at work where you're able to work at your own timing, I think that really does help a lot.
If need be, in a desperate time, there's no company will support you in desperation better than Schneider Electric. It's almost like you're within the family. Some of the people just You know, they love the other people that they meet along the way, and that's been my feeling, that it's almost like second family working for Schneider.
I can be a much more responsible manager when we are trying to give as much as flexibility to the employee to take care of their family without this type of a global policy. So now we can formalize everything to really enable them to fully focus on taking care of their family first.
At Schneider Electric, we believe in a culture of innovation and inclusion. And one of the many ways we support the diverse needs of our people is through our global family leave policy and flexibility at work principles. No matter who you are, where in the world you live, or how you manage your life and work, you can always be at your best.
I love that video because it really speaks to, I guess, what I've been talking about today, the fact that at Schneider, we have a culture, again, which comes from the top down, which means we look after, it says we look after our people, we give people the space that they need to live their life. And here I am talking to a room of recruiters, and what I'm telling you guys as the head of talent acquisition at Schneider is this is a differentiator for us when we're out there in the market attracting talent in what is a very tough market. Now, we've all got our story. Everyone's got their own lifestyle, different generations, things that they need to achieve in life, and how they need to weave that into their work. So as for me, I've got my story too. So just a few months ago, 6 months ago, I had my 5th child. This is a picture of us. This is when my 5 boys met my new son for the first time in the hospital, and it was amazing. And so for me, as with Stacey, who I showed the picture of her daughter earlier, for me, it's really important to be able to have that level of flexibility at work so that I can be a dad, but also lead a busy team recruiting what we consider to be the best people available to us in the UK and Ireland right now. Everyone's got their story. But for me, it's important, and I feel proud to work for a company that gives me that space to really excel my career, but also to live a fulfilling life outside of work. So at Schneider Electric, and this is back to the TimeWise data, we are open to a conversation about flexible working, and we make that very clear in all of our job advertising. Thanks very much.